Well, isn't it awesome when you attend an effective communication webinar and the communication is not very effective? How great is that? Just want to orient you to your screen as Carrie presents for us today. You'll notice above this PowerPoint presentation that you can see, there is an emoji face. Why don't you go ahead and pick an emoji button there, whatever mood you're in. Hey, thanks, Stacy. And that's your way to interact with Carrie as she's taking us through this presentation today. When you love and hate the things she says, you give her an emoji. Carrie, I'll turn it over to you now.
Like, super ironic, Annie. I totally agree. Oh my gosh. And the best part, guys, is that I was sitting here having a great conversation with Gail before we went live, and well, here we are. So effective communication, while not being able to hear people, can definitely bring us down, that's for sure. Thanks for popping in. You guys know and have my heart when you tell me where you're joining from, sunny, cloudy, whatever it is. I love it. So yeah, definitely some barriers to communication, technology, or sometimes the user thereof. In this case, team, I have to admit, it really honestly was technology. So thankfully for flexibility, we can always call in on our phones when our computers decide that they don't want to turn the mic on. And now looking at this too, barriers to communication, opposite shifts. Okay, I'm thinking both in personal life that can cause some issues when we're working opposite shifts, and also a barrier to communication, opposite shifts. I've seen this in the workplace 1.5 trillion times, real math. The stories that we tell ourselves that can happen when we work opposite shifts, right? They never pull their weight, they are lazy, they don't have support, or we don't have support, how can we get our jobs done? So many things with that. So thank you for your patience, everybody. I really appreciate it. This is one of my absolute favorite topics. I know for Rochelle, it's one of hers as well. And so, using our chat here, just know that we're going to be coming up with a two-part effective communication online workshop coming up in the new year. Is that general enough for you? So if you're interested in signing up, thank you. I know, right? I feel the same way. I have hard eyes right now. If that is something that is of interest to you, say pick me or I in the chat. Let us know that you want to be a part of this, and then we will email you the dates as soon as they are for us. So that would be fantastic. Thanks, Stacey. Yes, I know, right? Even I might just join it for fun if it is Rochelle sharing it, because it is a topic that I feel is the umbrella for all of topics everywhere in the entire universe. So you know who we are. We are Workplace Education Manitoba, helping people to develop essential skills that are needed for work, learning, and life. Our vision is to provide all Manitobans access to the essential skills, knowledge, and training required to determine and pursue their goals related to learning, the workplace, and life. And thanks, everybody, for hopping into the chat to let us know who's interested in this amazing two-part series. Lots of good stuff, looking at different communication styles. We'll be looking at those barriers, which we'll snip at today a bit more. But in those expanded trainings, we can really dive in deep as opposed to, just grabbing a little bit today. Benefits of both, right? So you know that we are not-profit, right? Non-profit organization, and we get the moolah from Employment and Social Development Canada and Manitoba Education and Training in order to provide you these amazing opportunities at zero cost to you. But it does cost money, right? So it is funded. We'd also like to acknowledge Human Resource Skills Development Canada and Entrepreneurship Training and Trade. If you would like more information on that side of things, of our biz, feel free to email info@wem.mb.ca, or you can visit our WEM website, wem.mb.ca, as instead of just our intro, where we show our awesome schedule. So big difference, right? Now, some of us are still looking at these essential skills, looking at how they apply in our lives. And I love this little image, as cheesy as it is, because it helps us to see how these are building blocks, right? These are some foundational skills, and then continuing to build on them. So that bottom line, reading text, document use, numeracy, writing, digital technology, right? We need those basic things, especially in our world. Technology is constantly changing. And if we look at our topic of oral communication, hello, we're using digital technology today. Well, it was a close one, but we are here now. And to be able to hit that second line, our oral communication, working with others, thinking skills, and continuous learning. And I really hope that you're able to see how each of these applies in the work that you do, not just your jobs, but the tasks, the people on your team, all of the above. Now, oral communication is the ability to use speech to give and exchange thoughts and information. So how do you use this skill? How do we use oral communication in the workplace? What are we using it for? Asking questions, getting feedback, sharing ideas, meetings, presentations. I think of finding out what people already know, right? Giving direction, giving instruction. We can see how it's so important. And although we're saying today oral communication, we know that communication happens in a lot of other ways as well. In written communication, so then we're hitting on our writing and reading. And usually that's done via a computer, so our digital technology. Each one of these, right, is part of this oral communication. I agree, telling good jokes, clarifying meaning behind words, acronyms, jargon, right? I think of sharing great television shows that we've been watching, these sort of things, and definitely learning from one another. What about building rapport with our team members, building rapport with our external customers? So many different ways that we use oral communication every single day. Now, let's take a look here. We say that it's an essential building block of every healthy work environment to have effective communication. So how do you define communication? Back and forth between two people, definitely. Verbal, nonverbal, yes. Heading there in just a moment, perfect. Right, an exchange of ideas, giving this idea of giving direction, yes. Written transfer of knowledge and emotions, thank you for acknowledging that part, building that common understanding, getting the message across. Yep, using any tool available to you, your body, eyes, hands, to convey an idea or thought or emotion, 100%. We talk about that connection between what's happening inside to how we display that outside, because people don't have access to our brains, right? They don't know our thoughts or our intentions. They're left with the outside part. So we say here, expressing our wants, feelings, there it is, thoughts, and opinions clearly and effectively is only half the communication process needed for interpersonal effectiveness. The other half, this is where I think that, most of us are a little bit weaker on this part. The other half is listening to and understanding what others communicate to us. Now, there's a lot of ways that this could go kind of wrong, right? So keeping that in mind, what are the benefits of effective communication in the workplace? What happens when we have that? Anybody want to guess what my favorite word is? Trust, right? Better productivity, things go smoothly. All three of these really roll in together. We have happy employees, and Shirley, I think that when we have happy employees, we end up with happy customers. Yes, there's problem solving, there's no assumptions, right? We take the storytelling out of things and focus on the facts. It can help build confidence, absolutely. Yes. So I think of, again, this rapport with our team. Why do we have higher productivity? Because we have an increase in our trust, there's transparency, and we're able to navigate those difficult conversations with much more ease. So we may have, for example, we may still have conflict in the workplace, but it might not be dysfunctional. We can have that functional conflict where it turns into, looks more like problem solving and this sort of thing, as opposed to that nasty, disgusting, farfarama conflict that comes in when people are making assumptions, when there's lack of problem-solving skills, lack of flexibility, when things aren't going smoothly, right? And then we end up with a whole other list of nastiness, which, you know, we talked about that already, so we'll move forward. We see these benefits, improved relationships, like you guys are saying, interpersonal, and then we expand that out, interdepartmental, managerial, and then organizational, and then just like the ripples in a pond when we talk about building trust, we see that start with us and then grow out, and even far-reaching market connections. How are you perceived in the larger world, right? Of course, you guys said increased productivity. What about creating a positive workplace environment? We're going to have a tidbit coming up this winter, I guess it is, sometime, eventually, on creating that positive attitude in the workplace. Rochelle will be sharing that with us. Can't wait. We also see providing opportunities for team growth, right? There's nothing worse than feeling trapped or stuck in a job that where we don't feel appreciated. And so when we have effective communication, we see that team growth and creating a culture of respect. And another plug here for our workshop coming up with our friends from the Parkland region, who will be sharing a 1 hour on building respect in the workplace. So that will be coming up. I love pictures. I also love words, and I love this diagram because it really helps us to see what happens with intention and perception. So A sends a message to B. We have A's reality, their intention, their meaning behind what they're saying. Then we have B receiving that message in the way that they're perceiving what A is saying. Now, if that wasn't confusing, let's just look at the picture. A shares that message. They have that shared space. So the verbal message, and as you guys pointed out, also nonverbal message. Now, I can think of a million different ways where this, maybe not a million, but a few ways where this can go wrong, right? A has an intention and B has a perception. It's awesome when those things are the same, right? When the person receives the message in the way that A intended it, magical things happen. Now, that doesn't mean that if B perceived it differently than A intended it, that they were wrong or that they're going to end up in conflict and drama. What we're missing is an arrow going back from B to A. So A shares that message to B, B interprets it in their real reality, and then they go back and say, is this what you mean? Now, friends, I've been around long enough to know that that loop doesn't always get sealed. And when it doesn't get sealed, we end up with everybody's favorite miscommunication. So my cheeky little line here, what could possibly go wrong? Well, tons. Let's talk about the time I took some pictures of my friend's children. They were being really funny. She has a lot of kids. And so she had asked me to watch them while she went to get their food. We were at a picnic. And so I took a couple of pictures of them being silly and texted them to her, thinking, she's standing in this long lineup. She might as well know her kids are safe. They're having fun. I didn't hear anything, and I thought, good for her. She's just enjoying the moment. Okay, so fast forward 1 month later, and I finally went to her because I was like, these pictures were pretty cute, and it was, you know, kind of nice of me to watch her 5 kids with my own 3, just saying. And so anyway, I said, hey, did you ever get those pictures I sent you? And she looked at me, eyebrows crunched up. No, I don't know what you're talking about, right? That's not how she communicates with me. She's pretty straightforward. And I said, oh, well, let me show you. Here they are on my phone. I texted them to your landline. So obviously she's not going to get them, right? But here I was, you know, not completing that loop. And I thought, wow, I've really misunderstood this situation. Effective communication exists. between two people when the receiver interprets and understands the sender's message in the same way the sender intended it. Well, wouldn't that be nice if we had that every single day of our lives? So what barriers to effective communication do we face in the workplace? What have you guys seen? Language. Okay, I think of language in a lot of different ways. Yes, culture, part of that, language, common language, workplace language. Like if each one of you started talking your workplace language, I'd be out. I would be able to get parts of what you're saying, but I may not understand all of it due to acronyms, jargon, techie terms, this sort of thing. And so those types of things, our language can be very exclusive. You know, you take in culture, that brings in a whole other layer. How many of you would be interested in sessions on culture and diversity in the workplace? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Just kind of give us a gauge. Yeah, this is one of those layers that we rarely, you know, we don't have time to bring in a 30-minute one. But oh my goodness, you guys, so huge, right? And consider where we live. The whole world lives here. So definitely those, we can see barriers to communication. And thank you for being brave and bringing that one out right off the hop, because sometimes we kind of dance around that one and we don't want to ruffle feathers. But the truth is, it works always, right? Yes, making time to talk with people, right? Making that a priority. When people don't make that a priority, we end up with misinterpretations. We often will end up in some version of that yucky, stinky conflict we touched on earlier. Definitely non-face-to-face communication. We're missing a good chunk of the message when we don't have that face-to-face communication. Tone, use of sarcasm. Now, if any of us are trying to put sarcasm in an email, you might want to hit backspace on that because it doesn't come across. Or the other day I was trying to be quote unquote nice and whatnot, and I thought, oh, and this is someone that I'm more familiar with, so I thought I could put a smiley face in here. And then I went, what if they misread that as me being kind of snarky, like that kind of a smiley face? So again, deleted that. Many organizations do not use emojis for that reason, because as much as we think we're getting, you know, can you get to this please? Smiley face. It might be like, can you get to this please? Smiley face, right? It can be misinterpreted. So that tone or use of sarcasm can really, can cause some issues. Again, assumptions, definitely. That is, I would say, fake stat is probably way up on the top of the list for sure. People not listening, or we think they're listening because they've nodded and they've said yes, going back to culture. Some cultures really don't want to say no. And so we end up with, you know, asking maybe not the best question. Maybe we've asked someone, do you understand? And what are they going to answer? Yes. Do you have any questions? How will they answer? No. And the truth is, they don't understand and they have like 1,500 questions. And so we end up with that sort of thing as well. Or this idea exactly of not listening, people not seeming to care, people who are distracted, right? That's my latest soapbox, is going on about the distracted. Crystal, you have my heart. Using email instead of phones. Emails can be misunderstood. You know, we're having a meeting today, working out dates and things like that. Well, do you know how difficult that would be to go on an email with 4 or 5 different people? Like, no, thank you. So why not book an online meeting or have this amazing technology called the telephone, right? Where we can have that better communication. Yeah, even in text, I agree. Yeah, you guys are amazing. So fun, juicy discussion coming up in the new year about all of these things. And the truth is, sometimes those emails, they might be a phone call, and sometimes phone calls are face-to-face communication. And then some meetings could be emails. So knowing which channel to choose for sure. Yeah, that's the top one right up here, right? Poor timing. We didn't even bring in bias, right? That's another one. If we've had past disappointing experiences with that person, we might be less eager to interact with them. We said language, lack of culture competence, misinformation, lack of clarity, everybody's favorite disempowering tone, misalignment between intention and message, and then, of course, misunderstanding body language. Could you put a percentage to each one of these, words, tone, and body language? Which one do we use the most when we're interpreting a message? Or even, we can even just shorten it up to which one do we use the most, right? Yeah. Annie, you've hit it. Yeah, everybody, tone is way up there as well. Yeah, and Shirley, I'm with you. I prefer face-to-face. I feel like we're missing out on so much. Yeah, that body language is way up there, isn't it? Survey says 7% are the words. Yeah, 38 is tone, 55 is body language. Hello, over half of the way we communicate is through body language, how we're interpreting someone's message. Now, I have folks that, like to disagree with this, and that's cool, but this, is from the internet, so it's true. And I say, it's not that we're saying that words are not important. Holy, words are so important. If we're only getting 7% of the message through the words, that means our words need to be chosen quite carefully. Now, quick math tells me that 93% is our how. 93% is how we're delivering that message, and the 7% is our words. Now, most of us, throw in pandemic, most of us are communicating in that non-face-to-face. We're using texting, we're using email a ton, we're using the phone, and some of us are using some sort of online video platform where we've turned our cameras off. Right? Is that not true? How many of us go on these Zoom calls and shut our cameras off? And normally that's a thing that we've decided to do for our tidbits, but just to prove a point, I pop on video, right? Plus, we got a ponytail in. Now, I wanted to share with you something that has my heart. And we kind of sniffed at this earlier. My question is, can you confidently say that your intentions are in alignment with your behaviors? So with behaviors, what we're talking about here would be those words, tone, and body language. That's that outside layer. We don't have access to someone's thoughts and intentions. We really also don't really have access to their feelings because that's an internal thing. Now, this is a beautiful cross-section of the brain. And then we have the behavior. So for example, let's say all of a sudden I grab my belly and I flop off this chair and you can hear some moaning and whatever. You might have an idea of what I'm feeling, which is, man, she must have had a bad breakfast or something's not going well, right? But you wouldn't know exactly what I'm feeling because guess what? You're not in my body. So it's really challenging when as leaders, we have a really good intention of coaching and mentoring our people and then use language that's dismissive or disempowering or is just plain old wrong, right? So if I want to say I want to be a good coach and I say to someone, well, hovering over them with some major big time Oprah body language and I say, what were you thinking? What's going to happen then? Trust, engagement, productivity. So the question, if anything, can you confidently say that your intentions are in alignment with your behaviors? That's today's takeaway, in my opinion, is creating this alignment. And anytime we see conflict happening or kind of bad stuff, or we're seeing different behavior from someone that we weren't used to seeing, there's a good chance that their intention isn't in alignment with their behavior. Now, intention isn't everything, is it? I could have the best of intentions and think I'm doing the greatest of jobs, but my behavior is showing something different, even though that's not my intention. Well, too bad, because that's what's being seen. Everyone can see and hear and experience those behaviors. So let's be mindful of that. We could be sending the wrong message when those intentions are misaligned with our behavior. Now, why do we ask questions? What's the importance of asking questions? Thanks, Stacey. Well, we want to check for understanding. My favorite, find out what people already know, have an idea of what they're experiencing. People come to us with a wealth of experience and knowledge. Yes, clarification, digging deeper, resolving issues, and my favorite, personalize the message. And so when you attend the communication class, we're going to talk more about those communication styles, because guess what, everybody? Not everybody wants to be treated the same way. If I treat people how I want to be treated, I'm going to have a lot of disappointed people in this world, won't I? And so we need to be able to personalize the message when we find out. Now, I'm going to pound through these couple of slides just to talk quickly about open-ended and closed-ended questions. We want to make sure that we are getting the best information from our people. So the question I had asked earlier was, in pretend, I wasn't actually asking you guys, do you have any questions? Often when we're training someone on the job training, we will say something like, do you have any questions? Number one, person is overwhelmed. Number two, they could be a prideful person like me, like I am. And so they might just be like, oh, I'll go Google it later, or I'll ask a friend, right? I hope I've grown out of that. I hope I've changed from that. I think so. So we want to ask open-ended questions so that we can get as much information as possible. It's not to say that closed-ended questions are bad. They're great to start a conversation. They're great when we're looking for specific answers. Not everything needs to be an entire essay. However, make sure that we're not asking a whole bunch of them in a row, because it could feel like an interrogation. I wanted to conclude today with this question part. Let's be strategic when we're asking questions. Let's be more mindful when we're selecting the type of question, because we want to make sure that that intention is matching what's going on up here, right? That our behavior is in alignment with intention. Part of that, layering in here, our cultural competence, asking the right questions, and listening. So, final word goes to this guy, empowering questions. Our empowering questions are positive and provocative. They make the respondent feel valued and respected. I know that that is a powerful way to create cohesion in our team. When we ask disempowering questions, we leave people feeling blamed and shamed. So, the invitation today is to go forth, be awesome, clarify our communication, and make sure we're asking the right questions. I look forward to spending time with you guys again in communication and any of the other courses we have coming up. Please feel free to stop by our website, weminterlake.ca, for our amazing courses coming up, and check back, I would say maybe next week or the week after, for dates and times of this upcoming stuff. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate all of your input. It's truly how we learn from one another. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.